Very impressive. The word theater comes from the same root with the word for God in Greek, theos. Theos, God. And theater have the same root. The meaning of this root is to view something from a distance. It's what we do when we go to watch theater. We view what happens on the stage, but we sit down. We don't intervene in the play. Theater in antiquity was not like today. Today we go to theater whenever we like. That time there were certain dates when were the theatrical festivals and they had their theatrical contests. So the people went to the theater from the morning to the evening, watching the places one after the other. They kept notes, and at the end was a voting for the best. And the ancient Greeks considered that God today does the same with the humans. He's sitting on the seat of the spectator and keeps notes, silent, and leave us to act on the stage. And at the end of the play, he's going to give the evaluation. And this is why you see this connection, theater and theos. God. Theater appears in history together with the birth of the Athenian democracy, late 6th century before Christ, in Athens. And was not just to amuse the people like today, but was to teach adults ethics and morals. It was a school. They went to the theater to be taught ethics and morals. And you know, the foundations of democracy are not the art of speech or the ability of expression, but is morality and ethics. And that was necessary for the Athenian democracy. For that reason, theater was developed in two different ways. To what we call tragedy and to what we call comedy. Now, what tragedy is? Tragedy is the place which teaches piety, because only piety is the way to ethics and morals. To avoid hubris, with other words. For that reason was brought on the stage the story of famous Greeks who were hubrists. And so on the stage was not only explained the act of hubris, but was also shown how the divine dislikeness was expressed. The curse, which was not only striken upon the hand of the person who was the author of hubris, but was spread in the family. And the worst is that the curse was spread to the generations after him. It was built up. Until the day when a person of the family, future generation of the author of hubris, decided to pay with his life for the curse, to release the people of the family who were not affected from the curse yet, and to make catharsis. Catharsis means to clean up, to release the people from the curse. For that reason we see stories like Oedipus. We see stories like the stories of the royal house of Mycenae, Agamemnon, people who were known to all. Their story was well known among the Greeks, and the stage made obvious the hubris and the curse, the atis. In the end, promoted the catharsis. Very famous play related with catharsis is the play of Sophocles under the title Antigone. Do you know who Antigone was? Yeah. Antigone decided to break the royal order by being obedient to the divine will. And what was the divine will? The divine will was all dead, even the enemy, to be buried. And when her brothers were killed, because she had two brothers, twins, who killed each other, and the one brought a foreigner army against Thebes, the other defended Thebes. When they were killed, the next king, who was their uncle, gave an order, the one who defended the city to get buried as a king, and the other who brought the foreign army against the city to be left unburied to become the food of the beasts. That was an obvious sin, breaking the divine law that all, even the enemy, had to be buried. So Antigone, who was the closest relative to them both, during the night went and put earth upon the body of her brother. The next day the king was furious, and he said that if I catch the one who tried to bury the traitor, I'm going to bury him alive. And that was in the palace, and Antigone was living in the palace. And so she heard that. And the next day Antigone, in the middle of the day, filled her urn with earth, and he went to fulfill the task. She was arrested. Creon, the king, was shocked seeing his niece doing that, and his question to her was, "You didn't know my order?" And her answer was, "You judge, my king, what is proper for a mortal to do, to obey to the king's order or the divine will." The answer of Antigone to Creon is almost identical in the book of Acts. Two apostles were arrested for second time, and they were brought to the council. And the answer was, "You didn't know our order not to speak again about this name?" And the answer of Peter was, "You judge what is proper for a mortal to do." We could say a lot about the tragedy. We could speak about Prometheus. Yeah, possibly you have heard the story of Prometheus. This story was brought as a trilogy on the stage of Athens by Aeschylus, and the trilogy was divided in three parts with three different titles. The first part was Prometheus Fire Holder. The second was Prometheus Bounded. And the third, Prometheus Released. Prometheus stole the fire from the gods, making himself good to the humans, because he offered the fire to the humans, and at the same time committing hubris. Because, you know, the gods had the precious fire to give to the humans when they should be mature to use it. And they were not. So, he was punished. He was a titan, he couldn't die, and he was bounded on a rock at the Mount Caucasus, and every day an eagle went, sent by Zeus, to eat his liver. And because he couldn't die, during the night the liver was regenerated, and the next day the eagle was there to eat it again. An endless torture. Now, the messenger of the gods, Hermes, felt pity for Prometheus, and he went and he paid a visit to the place of his torture. Imagine Prometheus like humanity. And the message, the divine message, the messenger, came to him in the place of his torture. And he said to him, your torture, poor Prometheus, is going to be endless, unless the son of a god and a woman will take your place in the torture and will go down to Hades instant and on behalf of you. And we know from the stories Prometheus released, that the person who released Prometheus was the son of Zeus and a mortal woman, Alcmene, Hercules, the hero Hercules, who went to Hades on behalf of Prometheus. Does this story remind something to you? 5th century BC, on the stage of the theater of Athens, for first time. This is a classical theater. On the other side we have comedy. What comedy is? Comedy is the mirror in front of the face of the spectator, which shows to him who he really is, with sarcasm and satire, and not who he thought he is, fulfilling the saying, know thyself. This is comedy. Also, comedy teaches. And then Romans came, and they brought with them the bloody shows, the gladiators, the beasts. They saw theater as a structure really convenient with some modifications for their bloody shows. So they removed the first row of the seats, the presidential row of seats. They put their fences, big iron fences, and they brought in the theater, in the school, which was built to teach ethics and morals, the gladiators, the blood, the beasts. The stage was not in use anymore. And so, since they started building their own, they abolished the stage completely, and instead of having a stage, they put another place for seats. And so we have two theaters together, and that is the amphitheater. Here we are going to see a theater, not an amphitheater. When you will visit Rome, you are going to see the Flavian amphitheater, called also Colosseum. This is an amphitheater, not the theater we are going to see here. Because in the amphitheater, in Colosseum, we don't have a stage, we have all around seats. The word amphi in Greek means both sides. Amphidexius, amphibian, and so on. This is briefly the history of theater. The theater we are going to see in a minute is a classical theater built by Philip, and together with the city walls today is the oldest monument in the site. Of course, suffered a lot of modifications during the Roman time because it was used for the beasts and the gladiators, as the most of the theaters of the cities all over the empire. Is there any question about that? As we said in Corinth, we have 250 years of persecutions. The ones who decided not to go through the test in front of the imperial worship temple, these people were either executed or tortured to death in public places like the theaters and the stadiums. So, without doubt, in the theater of Philippi, like to the most of the theaters of the empire, a lot of Christians passed to the glory. Through a cruel way. You remember in the monasteries, all these tortures and all these things. Is there any question?